So they do have a hang of who you are and what you are doing.
Cool.
Of course, you are free to describe yourself in detail in today's call. But there are some questions that the audience had, so I'm going to go through them, and probably that would be our agenda for this meeting.
Sure.
Okay? So why don't we just get started briefly about yourself and your personality and the systems that you have to offer for your client. Let's
Sure.
start from there.
Well, you want me to just get going? Oh, cool. So,
Yeah.
well, that's not, you guys probably know who I am by now, not to be a narcissist. But so Coach Castle here, guys. I specialize in biomechanics, something called biotensegrity, respiratory health, biochemistry, and endocrinology, as well as a large swath of other things which assist me, other skills which are kind of needed in these fields. But long story short, I'm a big proponent of doing everything as efficiently as possible, using science to back your results, not anecdotal things from gym bros who don't know what logical fallacies are or cognitive bias, who don't understand what role genetics and drugs and steroids have to play in other people's success, etc. So, anyways, my goal is to help you guys understand you don't need a gym unless you want one. You don't need weight equipment unless you want one. You're probably not as healthy as you think you are, but that's okay because it's easy to get healthy with the right information. Knowledge weighs nothing. And once you hear the information, by all means, question it, dig into it, research it yourself. But it's pretty simple. If I say it's so, it's the most likely scenario out of all the things I've researched. I will tell you whether it's likely or unlikely. And of course, I'll let you know if it's my opinion, but I don't usually give my opinion on things too much, usually just facts and truth, which is why I get hated so much. But anyways, so I don't mind the hatred at all. Just real quick, a lot of people, they got the YouTube channel, the podcast, etc. They get lots of hate comments, everything from you're fat, you're skinny, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, etc. And quite frequently, people make the mistake of calling me brave just for putting up with the amount of hatred I get. I want to be very clear about this. I don't really think I'm a brave man. And the reason for this is very simple. I have all of the facts, truth, data, and evidence on my side for every single thing that I say. It's basically non-debatable. So this is why I say I'm not a brave person, and it's why I speak with such confidence and authority. People much smarter than me have come up with, developed, all of these things. I'm just a mouthpiece. I've accumulated the information. I've put it all together. I've combined a couple different systems, some different knowledge, etc. But long story short, it all comes back to the basic fact that you are essentially an organic machine. The laws of physics apply to you. The laws of chemistry apply to you. Your basic goal is to get better by whatever definitions that is to you, only comparing yourself to the you of yesterday and doing that as efficiently as possible without an ego. So that's a very long-winded introduction to me without getting into anything specific and staying very general. So what would you like to get into now? So specifics.
Of course, thank you for that great introduction. Of course, you are very knowledgeable, and we all like your channel. And we had some questions for you. So we'll start off with the first question on the New Year resolutions, because this is a New Year time. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Moving on to New Year, what suggestion do you have for your clients, for people in general who are fitness savvy and would like to have some kind of fitness resolutions for the year 2024?
Well, I would say odds are high that if you are somebody who is making New Year's resolutions, you're probably not going to be successful just from the get-go. I'll be real with you about that shit. And the reason I say that is because people who are successful, people who actually accomplish things, who produce things, I don't set New Year's resolutions. I set daily goals. I set weekly, monthly goals. I set yearly goals. I have plans in motion for the future for years in advance, and I'm working on them now. I don't need to set an extra resolution to make myself feel better. I'm doing everything at the maximum capacity that I can be doing it within my power, as are most people who are, say, in the fitness industry who are attempting to achieve something. Now, that being said, I know that is a general kind of blanket term, and it does go across the bell curve of people, but my general experience is if you're the type of person to set a New Year's resolution, it's unlikely to come to pass unless you dramatically change your ways. So these are the same people who, if they are successful in achieving their fitness goals with their New Year's resolution, they are mostly successful not because that was their New Year's resolution, rather because they did the right things, put themselves in the right environment, surrounded themselves with the right people, and that is what led to their success. That's what led to the consistency. Now, if you are the kind of person who sets New Year's resolutions, I mean, on top of your regular goals, I would say make it big. Make it bigger than you think is achievable, but still just slightly out of your reach. So say that, I don't know, a reasonable goal to you would be to make an extra $10,000 this year. You want an extra $10,000. You want to be able to save it, have it as a cushion. Well, do the math. 12 months, break it down, 30 days per month. Just keep it easy, 30 days per month. Divide that up to the money, $10,000. How much is that per day? How much is that per week? How much is that per month you must be saving? Can you actually accomplish that? If the answer is no, look at alternative means. Can you get a second job? Can you get a passive income? Can you blank, blank, blank? You get the idea. But if it all evens out and 10,000 looks like it's achievable, like, yeah, I can probably do that if I just save this much. I can probably achieve that. Okay, well, make it 50,000 then. The reason I say this is if you shoot for the stars, even if you fall short, you'll still land and hit the moon. It's a silly metaphor, but everybody knows it, and it's very true. If you overshoot, you're going to accomplish a lot more than if you undershoot. But this is a delicate balance because you also have to set goals which are attainable along the way to this big goal, so you keep getting dopamine hits and you keep staying on the path. So again, that's why you have to break it down mathematically. So every day you can look at your cell phone and say, yes, today I didn't have that Starbucks coffee, and today I didn't order that pizza. I saved $30 today. That was the goal. Good on me. Now that's going to make sure that you do it the next day. Whereas opposed to if you just have a monthly goal and you fail 1 month, it's unlikely you're going to continue the next month because now you're already behind schedule. You got to set daily goals. They got to be realistic. They have to be attainable to keep you on track. And if you're doing them, you're going to make great progress and you will stay on track. The big goal needs to be there, but it has to be far out into the future. But you have to have broken down the steps yourself. You have to understand the process required to get to that goal. Say you want to build 5 pounds of muscle, lose 10 pounds of fat. Same thing. Do the math. Figure out, is it possible? What needs to occur to have that happen, etc. Get the most expedient way to get it done. Figure it out mathematically. Break it down by the day, by the hour, if you have to, and get it done. But just be realistic with your goals that you are setting for daily and weekly. Be very realistic with those. But the big goal should be unrealistic, and you should be constantly reevaluating how you can get there better, more faster, efficiently, etc. Make sense? All that makes sense?
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So in short, break it down into manageable pieces. Set smart goals.
No ego. These got to be attainable. They must be attainable. If you're not
Realistic,
able to do them, it's not going to keep going.
Awesome. Sure. Yeah. Well, moving on to the next question, Coach. I'm sure you would have heard about the 52 sets per body part per week. What's your take on that? Do you have any opinion? Do you have a way to attain it? Do we have to chase it?
So I'm going to try to keep it simple, but this is one of those things I'm going to have to logically break this down. So something, it doesn't get spoken about enough, but something I specialize in as well is rationality and logic. And the reason this is so important, one of my books, I have the 10th book I'm working on now, 9 books out, but my 7th book was specifically written for gym bros and personal trainers just because I kept getting the same 30 logical fallacies in every email, comment, discussion, debate, all the ones you guys probably already know, the ad hominem, the straw man fallacy, like all of these fallacies. If you don't know what logical fallacies are, just look them up, guys. But anyways, so I'm going to break it down step by step. I'm going to try to keep this simple because it might be new information to some of your viewers. So just very simply, everybody, just brace yourself. Take a second. Forget everything you think you know about exercise. Just put all that aside for 1 second. I just want you guys to follow me logically for a moment, okay? Lever magnification. This is something critical. I'm going to explain very briefly, and then we're going to get into the step-by-step process. So lever magnification is very simple to understand. If I give you a 5-pound dumbbell and I tell you to bicep curl that 5-pound dumbbell, It's very easy for you. It's not a trouble. It's not a struggle. I don't think most people would have any difficulty with that. If I take the same 5-pound dumbbell and I duct tape it to the end of a broomstick, so now it's at the end of a long stick, and I have you hold the other end of that stick and even brace it against your forearm so you can easily hold it, and you go to curl that 5 pounds, suddenly it feels a lot heavier than 5 pounds. We all know this. Now, this is lever magnification. The longer the lever, the more it magnifies the weight. Now, the reason I have to be specific about this is because whenever you're exercising, you are never dealing with the weight. You are holding on your back, in your hand, on your foot, etc. You're never dealing with that number of weight. You're dealing with how much load is being delivered to your muscles and which muscles are receiving it. That's what's important. If I gave you a rope and you tied it to a box and I said, pull the box, you can only pull the box towards yourself. You can't push it away with the rope. You can't move it any other direction than towards yourself. So basically all my bicep can do is lift my forearm, and that's it. Another muscle group is responsible for pulling it down. And that is, of course, the tricep, which is basically the same thing as the bicep, but located on the back of the arm, and 3 muscles instead of 2. So again, it does the same thing though as the bicep. It pulls and it pulls back, and the bicep pulls forward. And again, they both have a correct resistance curve. So anyways, with this knowledge, we now know that all muscles have so-called a best resistance curve. This is the most effective muscle training pattern for that particular muscle group. Anything that is not this particular resistance curve will be not as effective, equaling not as good gains. I hope this is making clear sense. The next step to understand is how hypertrophy works. This is not complicated. I don't want people to try to confuse you with this. Just like there's only one best muscle pattern for every muscle group on your body, there's just one best style of hypertrophy depending on desired effect. So basically you have 3 different forms of hypertrophy. I'm keeping this very simple. It's not entirely accurate. Just bear that in mind. I'm keeping this very kind of dumbed down. But you have basically 3 styles of hypertrophy. You have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, myofibril hypertrophy, and you have kind of a hybrid of all of them working together hypertrophy. So the most common way that people train is hybrid. They kind of do compound movements. They target multiple muscle groups in an inefficient pattern, not really, let's just say, hitting the muscle groups efficiently with either range of motion or proper intensity. And due to this, they are hybrid training, but not efficiently. Picture the muscle as a long, thin balloon, the kinds that clowns blow up to make puppies and giraffes and stuff. So we got a long, thin balloon. Inside that balloon, we got spaghetti noodles, and we got beet juice or cranberry juice or something, whatever helps you remember the analogy better. Now, the balloon itself, that is the skin which surrounds the muscle fibers. That is called the fascia. So that is surrounding the muscle fibers. That also is going to come into play here. Even though you guys don't talk about fascia when you're doing your training, fascia is very important, something else I specialize in. But again, then you have the myofibrils. These are the muscle fibers. These are those guys that are chemically sliding towards each other, and they are doing that using the sarcoplasmic fluid to fuel their sliding. I hope this is all making sense. Now, sarcoplasmic style training, the easiest way to explain it is essentially you're shooting for the pump. Now, this is not entirely accurate, but just for simplicity's sake, you're trying to get a pump. Now, that being said, I'm just going to leave it at that. You're shooting for very, very high reps, over 50 repetitions with very light weight. Okay, that's sarcoplasmic style training. I mean, you can do it a variety of other ways, but again, just for simplicity's sake, let's just say like that. Low weight, very high reps taken to near failure. Then you have myofibril training. This usually also goes hand in hand with training your tendons as well, by the way. So this is more known as strength-based training. This is the 5x5 method you'll see people do, etc. So this is something you can do it a million different ways, but basically you need to overload the muscle with something which is very difficult for it, engaging all 4 types of muscle fibers, etc. It's also good for training your tendons. I'll leave it alone at that. And then you have hybrid. Hybrid, like I referenced, is how most people train. It's somewhere in between these 2 extremes. It's kind of a mix of both of them. So now that we got all of that, when you're doing the sarcoplasmic style training, what you're doing is you're taking the balloon and you're making that bigger by increasing the amount of fluid that is capable to be held inside of it. This is why when you're doing it with lightweight bicep curls, like 100 in a row with 10 pounds or something, your bicep feels like it's about to split. It's about to pop. It's actually a lot bigger at that point. You're stretching out the fascia, and fascia has muscle memory, and it will remember that it was stretched out and that it was damaged. It will retain that slightly, and your muscle will then be able to hold more fluid. Now, the myofibril style training is actively breaking the 4 different types of muscle fibers. So when you're doing something that requires all fibril muscle recruitment, like this very heavy style of training, it's basically all or nothing contraction. So all of your muscle fibers get involved, because there's no chance for like one to fatigue and another one to come in and help out. They're all like, oh, hell, we all got to pull now. And then with these, you really want to focus heavily on the eccentric portion, or the lengthening of the muscle, or the lowering of the weight, depending how you want to look at it. But you really want to focus heavily on that, because that's actually where you do most of the damage to the muscle. It's not as important with sarcoplasmic style training, but with hybrid training and with myofibril training, you really want to focus on the eccentric, or the lengthening of the muscle group, up to 4 times longer than the concentric. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, those are the kinds of hypertrophy you can do. As for myself, because it might be a question, I do every week, I do arm day, leg day, core day, day off. Each one of these days is 7 to 8 exercises, takes me 15 minutes at the most. But anyways, arm day, leg day, core day, day off, arm day, leg day, core day. Those 2 sets are done differently. These first 3 days, arm day, leg day, core day, are the sarcoplasmic training. The next 3 are myofibril style training. And my warm-up is always plyometrics and fascia-based training mobility things. But anyways, neither here nor there. Just wanted to, real quick, in case people are curious. Intensity. So let's just say you already have the information I have, and you know all of the perfect exercise movement patterns. So you got whatever body weight, you know how to do it with your body weight, you know how to do it with a dumbbell, you know how to do it with cables. You got it, you understand gravity, you understand levers, no problem. Well, you're still not going to make as much progress if you don't understand intensity, frequency. You can't have one without the other. They go hand in hand. Intensity and time are inversely related. So the easiest way to explain this is, if I put a gun to your head and I told you I'm going to shoot you when you stop walking on a treadmill, you could walk on that treadmill probably 2 days. You know what I mean? You can walk. So that's low intensity. I put a gun to your head and I say I'm going to shoot you when you stop running. Well, I don't know. You maybe run an hour or 2, 3 before I shoot you. How about if I say I'm going to shoot you when you stop sprinting on the treadmill? What do you got? A minute at the most? How long do I have to wait until I train them again? Well, number one, I'm assuming my hormones are optimum. I'm assuming I'm consuming enough protein and amino acids, and I'm also assuming I'm sleeping enough. If those 3 things aren't met, you're probably not going to be recovered. If those 3 things are met, you'll be recovered in about 6 days. Now, if you are enhanced, i.e. taking SARMs, steroids, what have you, it doesn't matter. You can probably get away with 3 or 4 days, depending on how much gear you're taking. You get, again, these are all very nuanced topics, but again, just to keep it simple. Now, there's an issue with that, and the issue is that's not the ideal frequency. Now, how you achieve the ideal frequency is basically stopping just short of failure. So if you stop just short of failure, and you know this because basically, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's mechanical failure. So your bicep curl starts to look like I can't lift it up all the way, and I'm having trouble controlling the descent of the bicep curl, but I can probably still do 3 or 4 more. That's when you stop. That's the point that you stop. And that's the point that you stop every one of your bicep sets. So let's say you're doing 3 sets for the day. That is the stopping point for those 3 sets. Now, here's the thing. Now you only got to wait 3 or 4 days, and then you get to hit the muscle again. So what does this translate to? It translates to considerably more volume per week, literally double the volume per week. But even with this, I mean, it's very unlikely, even with me having like an extra week, I don't think I would do more than 16 sets per muscle group, and that would be, I mean, that's pushing it. I'm serious. That's pushing it. It's much more likely 10 to 12 per body part per muscle group. So biceps would be 2 days split. So one day, let's just say I do 5 sets. Next day I do 5 sets. That's 10 for the week. That's the most likely scenario for me. But again, 52 is absolutely insane. They do not take biomechanics into the account with these studies. They do not take individual morphology or individual bone structure into account with these studies. They don't take individual muscle composition. We all have a different composition of muscle fibers. Some of us have more fast twitch, some of us have more slow twitch. You get the idea. They don't take like anything that would actually matter. They don't take into account. They don't monitor if these guys are taking drugs. They don't even check their hormones. They don't care. They don't monitor if they're doing the exercises properly, if they're using momentum, if they're selecting the correct weights. Just the fact that they were actually able to get to 52 sets means it was poorly done. In all seriousness, it's correct frequency, which really seems to determine consistent muscle growth. If you are correct with your frequency, we'll put it this way, even if you're doing arm day poorly, like you're doing poor selection of arm exercises, you're doing poor weight and poor intensity, as long as you're doing it every 3 to 4 days, you'll make more progress probably than somebody who's doing the perfect exercises, but they're only doing it once a week.
I'm kind of reminded of Doug Brugnoli's graph. Not that he came up with that. I think somewhere he mentioned about the muscle graph where it has a peak and then it comes down and then super compensates like every 3 to 4 days, and that's when you hit and hit the frequency, right?
That's what I was just talking about in regards to hypertrophy. Is that's the sweet spot. That's the 3 to 4 day point. But that's the why it's apart. So if you take it to failure, you require 6 days to recover. You've missed the super compensation. You've already super compensated and you've gone too far. You have targeted the muscle perfectly. You have efficiently hit it with correct intensity. Now you only got to wait 3 or 4 days and you can hit it again. That's the real benefits of it. But here's the thing, you guys, and I know, I guess I told you to forget everything you guys think you know. Here's the thing you really got to understand. The entire fitness industry, they are not interested in helping you. They're not. I mean, I'm sure some of the people in the industry are committed to helping better other people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the fitness industry as it stands has no interest whatsoever in making people better any more than the medical industry is interested in curing people. They are not interested in that. Okay, so I'm not going to get on a high horse here, but what you guys need to understand, it's not about numbers. It's not about this guy's plan versus that guy's plan versus that guy's plan versus. It's not about taking a bunch of drugs and pre-workout and going ham in the gym. It's not about picking up heavy things and putting them down. No, no, no. Guys, you've probably already realized this in your life, and if you haven't already, let me tell you. You've got to be smart. You've got to be efficient, and if you are, you will win. We all got the same 24 hours in the day, and if you only got to work out 15 minutes like I do, you don't need a gym. You don't have to drive. You don't need equipment. You can do it in your house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You save a ton of time, effort, and money. You build your confidence because you can do it anywhere in the world. You advance your own knowledge. But when you learn about biomechanics, again, I know it sounds like a scary word to people, but it's very easy to understand. There's no complicated physics really involved for the layman. You guys have
So one of our audience is having a question here. Like, he's new to biomechanics, like most of us are. What's your suggestion? Where do we get started? Do you have any books? Do you have your own book that you suggest people? Where does somebody start with actually?
Well, this is going to entirely sound like I'm plugging myself, and I want to stress that I'm kind of not, because I do free giveaways and stuff all the time. I'm legitimately trying to get the information out there, but I would actually really recommend you start biomechanics with one of my books or with my YouTube channel. And the reason I say that, and I know this is going to sound kind of arrogant, I just don't know anyone else in the world who simply explains biomechanics the way that I do, who uses easy to understand metaphors and pictures who has YouTube videos with all of the muscles, the anatomy, the movements, everything very clearly shown to you. So there is no room for debate. Your learning is very easy. For example, Doug Brignoli, my great mentor, most of you know his name by now, in biomechanics. He was a pioneer in biomechanics. There's many different styles of biomechanics, if you will, but the principle is all the same. How different forces basically affect living material. Now, biomechanics is everywhere, whether you know it or not. It's in the helmet design, it's in your headphone design, it's in your car safety design, it's in the design of buildings, it's in the design of just about anything that's a product. Somebody who understands biomechanics has had some form of a hand in developing it. It's just the way it is. Just about anything you can think of sports related, from clothing to accessories to balls to you name it. Somebody who knows biomechanics has had a hand in developing that to make it better. Now, when it comes to understanding biomechanics, again, the reason I say you should start with me is because if you get Doug's book, he unfortunately co-authored one book, and he wrote $1 Million Muscle, and he wrote another one, The Physics of Resistant Exercise, which is a beautiful book. But I know so many people, they just can't read it. It's just, I mean, they will open it and it just looks like nothing but gibberish to them. And it doesn't matter where in the book that they open it. It just all kinds of seems gibberishy, and they don't retain the information. I totally get it. I had to read the book multiple times. It was one of my first introductions to biomechanics as well. It is what it is. It gets easier to read the more information you get, obviously. But my books, I have had the pleasure of coaching and teaching biomechanics for a very long time, coaching many people through these exercises. I have written many books on it. I've developed something called the Keychain Gym. It's an entire cable gym that fits on your keychain. I've developed multiple systems and flashcards for this because of COVID. So you can get perfect exercise using a chair, using a pull-up bar in your home with a towel, I mean, etc. The point is, you don't need a gym. And I do all of this, and I explain all of this in my books and my videos really, really, really simply.
Yeah, so some of my audience went through your YouTube channel, and they saw these different systems that you have to offer. For
Okay,
example, the
gotcha.
pulley system, the keychain systems.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
the question is, are these biomechanics based? And if so, are they safe and useful in terms of getting the results? Are they stable enough
Okay,
for
so
us
I
to,
keep this
yeah,
very simple. This is
yeah,
real easy. I only teach the best things. That's it. End of story. If it's on my YouTube channel, and I have not removed the video, I've removed 2 videos so far because I was wrong 2 times. Now, this was years ago. But I made a video clarifying, showing the old video, explaining how I was wrong, and then I took the old video down. I did it with
that's
2.
very brave of you. Not many people would try to
I,
even get
I
into
like
that.
to point out when I'm wrong, though, because
That speaks volume about your character
well,
and
it's like
genuinity.
people put
Yeah,
me on kind of a pedestal, and I have to be like, listen, you guys got to understand, I'm just an idiot who works really, really hard, and sometimes it takes me a long time to learn things because I'm so stupid. But I'm always willing to change my mind with new evidence, and this is not a position people take in today's world. And this is the rational position to take. When there's new evidence, you change your goddamn mind. Now, there's lots of reasons people don't. I'm not going to get into it. But long story short, I only teach the best things. I'm again, I don't want to spoil the fun here, but I'm in the process of writing a comprehensive book. Most of my books are only about 75 to 300 pages. This book that I'm writing, I don't know the name, but it's basically going to be a gym Bible, and it's going to be a little over 1,000 pages. This is going to be the vast majority of my knowledge put into this book, like everything I could possibly think of, but explained really simply, plus, well, the flashcards. But anyways, the reason I'm getting into all this is because, number one, I wouldn't sell it if I didn't believe in it. On top of that, this is going to sound kind of weird. By all means, buy my things to support me, please. I need the money. I'm trying to change the world. It's hard. But I would urge you guys to simply make one yourself. Now, when I say make one yourself, I'm referring to a keychain gym. Now, when I'm referring to a keychain gym, it's just my name for what I invented. I'm just going to explain to you simply what it is. It is simply a very small
Don't let them see you, bitch.
system.
Always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy. It was built to be rough, but that's what makes a personality is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks. We out here moving boulders.
You're using lever magnification to your advantage. You're no risk whatsoever of damaging a single part of your body the way that you would damage them with squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, upright rows, these stupid exercises, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I used to be a power lifter and a strongman. So yeah, back in the day, I used to pull trucks, lift cars, throw Atlas stones, all that good stuff. And nowadays, I can't believe I used to do that shit. It was so stupid. I was a dumb kid. But again, just to put in perspective for you.
One question over there. Would biomechanics help someone become a strongman? Now, what's your take on that? Even though you have a strongman background.
I learned biomechanics when I was a power lifter, and I wanted to learn them to improve my squat, deadlift, and bench press. And as soon as I started learning them, I was like, I should probably stop doing these fucking exercises. I will never forget it was like a crisis of faith almost, because I identified with the deadlift, because I was the only guy who was 145 pounds who could deadlift 620 pounds. I was the only fucking guy who could do anything like that. I was the only guy who could squat with no belt, no nothing, over 4 plates on each side. You know what I mean? Like it was my ego. It was I'm a man. The issue is I didn't want to be 145 pounds picking up big weights. I wanted to look how I look now. I wanted to look like a bodybuilder. Starting the first, though, I'm going to do a better by the day on YouTube. So what I'm going to do for 90 days is literally just record and track how I live, what I do. Now, of course, this is going to include my morning routine, my night routine, as well as my workouts. And what I'm doing specifically is I wrote a plan for myself. So basically, I'm self-coaching, and the plan that I wrote for myself, I'm going to be following the plan, showing people how I follow the plan, how I track my progress, how I do everything. And then, of course, the plan is going to be free to anybody who wants it, but it won't be as good because it's not for you guys, but it'll still be a great plan to follow, and you guys can literally just go through my YouTube videos and see them all. Now, other than that, just let me plug myself very briefly, I suppose. If you go to my YouTube channel, inside the description are links to all of my things. I have Instagram, I have Facebook, I have an Etsy store, an online store where you can digitally download all of my things, my tools, my daily planners, my trackers, my hypertrophy guides, my 9 different books, all of which comprehensively explain how to do everything from build a home gym to exercise with biomechanics, hypertrophy, diet, you name it. It's explained in these things. If anybody wants online coaching from me, I'm currently running a deal till the end of this next month. It's only going to be $55 a session, or if you're buying an online plan from me, it will no longer be $500. It's only $250 for this month only. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me at castlinprogress.com, gmail.com, sorry. My website is castlinprogress.com. But again, I'm very happy to answer anybody's questions or emails. I get a lot of them, and most of them are quite hate-filled. So it does take me time to dig through them sometimes, but once I get your email, I will be responding to you. And stay tuned to my YouTube channel, because I'm always doing free giveaways and every other thing you can think of. I'm trying to help you guys. And I'm sure if you'd like to have me back on again with another list of questions, I'll be able to give you another hour, maybe more. And it was a pleasure doing this, bud. Anything else to wrap up?
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time with us. Yeah, it was really insightful and very informative. I'm sure you will get more people reaching out to you with intelligent questions and not hateful comments. Yeah, once again, thank you. And you have a wonderful new year ahead.
Next time you want to have me on, and I'm going to go ahead and probably send you 1 or 2 of my materials as well for you. But anyways, have a happy new year, everybody. Make your own decisions. Think for yourself. Do not follow the crowd. Take things from a first principle basis. It takes longer, but in the long run, it's a lot better. And consider your health from a multifaceted perspective, not just exercise and diet. Think about your future self, because that's coming sooner than you think, guys. But anyways, have a great day, everybody, and have a happy new year.